Johnkinsley.
So let's talk about the message you folks want to get out today.
Right. Well, during this holiday season for Independence Day, we've been trying to get the message out that all fireworks are illegal in Montgomery County. It's been that way for decades. It includes sparklers, but everything that you could purchase is illegal in Maryland. There are many reasons why fireworks are illegal in Maryland. Traditionally, what we've seen is the personal injury from folks that set off the fireworks. They don't run quick enough away from the fireworks, so they set it off in their hand and they get personal injury, burns. But we also have been seeing traditionally fires that have been started by the fireworks themselves. Fireworks will land in combustible areas, combustible roofs, vegetation around a house, on your decks, and they will actually catch your house on fire. So we've been really concerned about those events. We've run a couple of those type events this year around this holiday season, but we've been trying to get the message out that these fireworks are illegal. If you want to see fireworks, you really need to go see a professional fireworks show where there is some level of safety and fire prevention, injury prevention. But this year we also have seen several fires, small and big, that have been started by discarded used fireworks. So once that firework goes off and you see the display, it is still hot, it is still contained within a combustible cardboard container, and we've had folks, rightfully so, collect them, put them somewhere, paper bag, paper box, and put them someplace next to their house or next to vegetation where there is a combustible area, and those spent fireworks, while they're still hot, will ignite a fire. We had a $1.25 million loss, structure and property house fire just last night. That was in Rosecroft Road in Norbeck. That was caused by what we believe was spent fireworks that were collected, doused, but set next to combustible materials outside the house, and it caught the exterior of the house on fire, spread to the roof, and destroyed this home. So it does occur on a frequent basis. We had another fire last night. It was a smaller fire that was started by fireworks. Fortunately, this occurred at or near the garage of the home where there was a sprinkler system. So the sprinkler system controlled the fire and limited the damage to about $1,000. So we've had big and small events in Montgomery County just yesterday on the 4th of July, all from illegal fireworks.
Were
Sir,
those the only two incidents yesterday?
we've had several. Those were the only two structure fires that we had yesterday. In between the evening hours, we ran several calls. Our fire and explosives investigators ran several calls where we've had smaller fires, like in trash cans, that sort of thing, where spent fireworks shells were collected and they caught fire, ignited the contents of a trash can, what have you. We've also spent the evening recovering fireworks, and we even recovered some unexploded fireworks from a professional display last night. So they are very dangerous, and again, we like to advise people that all fireworks, even sparklers, are illegal in Montgomery County.
You said a professional display?
Yes, this is a public display. Sometimes those fireworks shoot up in the air and they don't explode, and they come down and they're still alive.
Can you talk about how frustrating it is? I mean, you do this every year, people do this every year, and then it's the point of the homes don't need to be burning down, they don't need to be getting hurt.
You're absolutely right. It is frustrating for us. We spend our careers trying to not only respond to these events, but to prevent injury, prevent fires. But when we see little children that are playing with sparklers and they get burned, or when we see other kids that are playing with firecrackers that they don't throw them fast enough and they explode and they cause traumatic injuries to the hand, that's very sad and very frustrating for us to see. But more recently, we've started to experience the discarded fireworks that are causing fire. Very much like every winter, we experience the discarded ashes from fireplaces that'll set the deck on fire and extend to the home. So it is very frustrating for us to know that it's illegal. And our public message is that it's illegal. We try to prevent it. Our fire investigators are out there trying to enforce the laws. But it's not our intent to arrest people, incarcerate people. We're out there enforcing those laws to try to prevent the injury and prevent the structure fires from occurring.
Did anyone get hurt last night? Like hand injuries or anything like that?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't have that information.
Oh.
Well, yeah, one firefighter was injured fighting the fire on Rosecroft Road, but I don't have any reports of civilians, public being injured because of fireworks. So
Maybe you could speak about the explosion that occurred in Seneca recently, where we did have some injuries.
yes, so we recently did have a fire. Don't want to go into great many details because it's still under investigation. But I will tell you that kids and adults like to make their own fireworks, so they will acquire black powder, other types of explosives from like shotgun shells, and they'll take apart purchased fireworks and try to make a bigger explosion. And what we find is sometimes that firework will explode prematurely and cause injuries in the fire as a result, especially if you're doing it inside your home or your garage.
What kind of sanction do you give people that don't follow this rule?
I'm sorry, I didn't.
What kind of sanction will people face?
Well, I'd have to let my FBI expert tell you exactly what the law says. But again, our intent is not to go out and arrest people. Our intent is to stop those illegal fireworks from being used. So what we'll normally do is confiscate the fireworks, and there are civil penalties, criminal penalties that come from that. But our really intent is to get the fireworks out of the hands of the folks.
Can you tell us if there were any people arrested or charged last night or in the past couple of weeks for these violations?
I'd have to defer to my FBI expert on that.
Yep. What was the question?
Was anyone arrested or charged for possessing illegal fireworks either last night or in the last couple of weeks leading up to the 4th?
Yeah, so I'm Captain James Bice. I'm one of the fire and explosive investigators here with our unit within Montgomery County Fire and Rescue. In the past couple weeks, can't say that we've actually charged somebody. Our goal was to educate. That's first and foremost. If that fails, then obviously we have to take other measures. But yeah.
Okay, so
All right, back on. Yeah, so first we want to educate. If that fails, then obviously, as Chief was saying, there are civil fines as well as criminal action to be taken. So the end result can be an arrestable offense, but that's certainly not the goal.
So there hasn't been any.
Not in the past couple weeks. So.
Got it.
Captain, if it goes to that length that you have to arrest someone, what sort of fines, punishment are they looking at?
Generally, anywhere from $50 on up to maybe 6 months prison.
And what kind of situation would result in that? I mean, if there's destruction or injury, would that usually they wouldn't get arrested or charged, or how do you determine that?
So, I hate to say it's on a case-by-case basis, but in a way it kind of is. So if we're dealing with somebody that's a repeat offender, that we've been out once that night to talk about the dangers of setting off aerial, you'll see them over here on the left, these aerial shots, and they persist with it, then you're kind of forcing us to take action on that. And so we would start with the fine with that, if the education component doesn't work.
And Captain, when were these fireworks seized?
So these are all been confiscated in the past several months.
And so I think there was also fires in Potomac recently where the neighbors were setting off fireworks and then it caught fire in the neighbor's house. Do you know the future?
Brickyard, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm not involved with that. And to the best of my knowledge, I can't say whether it is or not. But like anything, you can't rule it out. So I don't know.
I'll just add that sometimes it's difficult to determine how a fire started. So if we have a fire that started on the roof, burnt down into the house, like we had on Brickyard, it's hard to determine what caused that. but you add that with reports of neighbors shooting off fireworks, that's a clue, but sometimes it's really hard to tie the pattern together and say, yes, this is definitely caused by fireworks, and then even make the case of criminal charges against the people that were shooting off the fireworks. It's really hard to do. So when this is over, if you want to come in, you can.
I don't know if I missed it in the tweet, but the fireworks that were in the house on Rosecroft, were they from that property, or do you know if they were from like people outside the property setting off fireworks?
I don't know that. The family.
It was the family that did it.
And they had discarded them, collected them,
Yeah.
doused them in water, and left them outside in the back.
Okay. So to answer your question, the fire on Rosecroft was caused by the fireworks that the owners had used themselves. And again, they attempted to douse the fireworks, put them in a trash bag, sit them by the house, but they were still hot, and they started a fire. We've also had other folks find, bags of discarded fireworks, near their house or what have you, that people they don't discard properly. They just leave them around. So we do see that as well.
They're illegal, but people are going to be shooting fireworks in any county on the 4th of July. What should you do if you see discarded fireworks like out in the streets and you're not sure what's going on with it?
So I would always call. You can either call 911. We have a number, 800.
279 or 301-279-8000.
301-279-8000 would be a good number for people to call to report finding fireworks. It's a really good question because you might not know if it's a spent firework or a live round, so it's always important to call that number and report it. Our fire investigators will come and confiscate it, and those are collected throughout the holiday seasons, 4th of July, New Year's, and they are all destroyed at the end of the holidays.
Chief, you said that what happened on Rosecroft, that the fireworks were used, they were outside in a plastic bag. So how did that go from the bag to the house?
Well, again, it's just like your discarded ashes from your fireplace, right? They're not completely out. You put them in a combustible container of some sort, put them next to combustible items. They heat, they generate heat, they flame up, they set the combustibles around them. So I don't know exactly what combustibles were involved, but again, imagine putting that bag of hot coals, right, next to some plants, mulch that was combustible, next to your vinyl siding house that's combustible. That fire grows on the outside, extends up, enters the house, and it spreads, yeah. So the same message there for your fireplace ashes applies to the fireworks discarded. If you do it illegally, please don't leave these hot, spent shells next to combustible materials next to your house. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask more about that professional display you were talking about.
Yes.
Can you tell us where that was?
I'm gonna have to defer to Pete.
Okay.
I don't think we know where that display was for the live round that we found.
Rockville.
It was in Rockville.
Rockville? Okay. And
So the live round that we found was from a public display in Rockville.
right. And how can people putting on public displays is there a way to prevent that from happening?
Well, those public displays are supposed to be done by licensed professionals, so that's a whole nother world, and there's codes involved, rules, regulations, in order for them to put off that display. I don't know if you want. Yeah, sorry.
So just like anything, there's always there's things that malfunction. So this one in particular in Rockville, he's been there plenty of times, and it's just one of those things that happen. So if it's something that they can take back and from a manufacturer standpoint, they can determine why it malfunctioned or how it malfunctioned in a safe manner, then that's the goal. If it's unsafe, then we obviously can't send it back with them.
So in general, just to clarify, you found that discarded fireworks have caused more issues than live fireworks, and people are actually set.
I think this year that's.
Yeah.
Let me move back. Yeah. So yeah, I think this year the trend that we've seen is that spent fireworks that are still hot are what we're seeing is causing the most damage to structure and property in Montgomery County this year. think it's 1.25 million. Yeah,
And the Rockville shell was when?
that was found last night.
Last month?
Yeah.
Do you mind saying and spelling your name and giving your title one more time?
Sure. It's Captain James. Last name's Bice. B as in boy. I-S-E.
And Montgomery County Fire?
With Montgomery County Fire. Yeah. Okay.
It's not far away.
This is what I want.
Nah, I don't know if anybody in there does.
What's that?
Speak Spanish? It's on there.
Nobody's here.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess they all left.
Thank you.
So I mean, if you guys want, close-ups or whatever or anything here. No, that's why he's here to prevent that.
Some sticky fingers.
Yeah. But I mean, this is a display that we've had for years. We're doing this type of event. But again, everything else here is stuff that we've obfuscated this year. Even these. You drive up to Frederick County and you can get sprinklers in any sparklers in any 7-Eleven. I remember as a kid how dangerous these are because these get very, very hot and they burn.
How about using that as kids to set off the fireworks and firecracker and you toss it?
Well, I've seen that done, right? You set off a sparkler and it burns for